So today we're going to be going over the introduction for chapter 2, which is number properties. And so the big ideas for this section is to be able to graph and order real numbers by identifying their properties. Here are the types of numbers that we're going to be seeing. And so as a starting exercise, let's go ahead and try and organize these into subsets. What is a subset? Well, this is a set of numbers. A subset is going to be a smaller set within this. So, okay, let's go ahead and just start organizing them. And why don't you go ahead and you pause the video, put these into different groups, and try and identify which groups that you put them into and what makes them part of that group. And then unpause the video when you're done and see if we come up with similar answers. There's no right or wrong answers to this, though. Okay, so now that you've had a shot at it, most of the times what people look at is the most obvious ones are like the negative numbers. So we could say, hey, there are things called negatives. And I'd put all the negative numbers like -4, -9.4 repeating. I have a -2, -8.1, and -1. So this would be my subset of negative numbers. Now, if I have negatives, I could also have something like positives. So let's do these in red. So my positive numbers would basically be pretty much everything else. I'd have my 11.2. I'd have my √5. I'd have my e. Can't have 0. I have a 0.3 repeating. I have a 20, a 15, a pi, 1/3, 5/7, 1.6. That's a 7, not a 2. Let's see, √11, and then 2.1. And here are my positive numbers. And we notice how neither one of these subsets have anything in common. I could also have my neutral numbers. Let's call these neutral. And that would be 0. And here's my neutral set of numbers. Now, things get tricky when I take my negatives, my positive, and neutral, and I try and divide them into a different subset. So one of the things that I could do is I could say, how about repeating numbers? And so let's do this in green. Okay. And in my repeating numbers, I have -9.4 repeating. I have 0.3 repeating. And then that's it for the explicit ones. Now, you could argue that 1/3 is a repeating number because that as a fraction is 0.3 repeating, same as that. 5/7 would also be some sort of repeating number. I don't know off the top of my head, but we have two of these. Now, let's take a look. If I put this as its own category, what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to remove them from the negatives, remove this from the positives, and then this subset of repeating numbers now includes that over there and this over here. And so you see it's going to get a little tricky because now my negatives include all of these and this one, but this one's also in my repeating numbers. My positives include all of these and also this one, which is also a repeating number. And as we add more categories, let's say something like, let's do in orange, how about numbers? A big one that people say is numbers expressed as either variables or letters. And now these are common numbers that tend to represent as some sort of symbol. So I have like numbers like pi and numbers like e. Now if we notice both pi and e are completely in the positives, so what I could do is I could say, how about let's not put this right here. How about I put this as numbers, forgot the R again, as letters. And then I only include that. That is a subset within the positive subset. This repeating numbers, both of them are subsets that are part of others, but they're not a shared subset. And so it's going to get a little confusing. And generally the idea is no matter how me and you are probably going to organize this, we're not going to come up with the same set of things that we're going to be doing. Do we see numbers expressed in multiple groups? Yeah, why? Well, repeating numbers in these two groups, that one's in that two groups, this one's in those two groups, because we don't have something called a hierarchy system. We have a nice little classification system, this is good, but we don't get into a hierarchy. So we're gonna get into, in the next video, what is the generally accepted hierarchy of numbers. But this is a good little introduction to what we're gonna be doing over the next several videos. Oop. And there you go.